What is up, guys? Welcome to this week's episode of Elk 30. This week's episode of Elk 30 is brought to you by Eddie Line Brewery of Buena Vista, Colorado.
Cranky Anchor
Pale Ale. We've been out in the mountains of Colorado here for the last 7.5 days chasing elk. This was mine and Walt's first archery elk hunt, my first elk hunt ever, and it was one hell of an experience. This area we went to, I was fortunate enough to come out here with some of Walter's family about 15 years ago and check some of it out for elk hunting, and just always wanted to get back. Always wanted to do elk hunting, never had time to do it. Well, this year we said it was the year. It was kind of a special hunt to plan because I spent a lot of time growing up with my cousin Walter chasing game all over the country, and it's been probably a good 10 years since we've done that. So we decided that this was the trip to finally hook up together again and go chase some elk. And we were pretty fortunate. We don't have the rack with us. It's at the taxidermy and butcher shop right now. But we were pretty fortunate enough to get on elk day 2 of our trip. Called it right in, first bull that we actually had going the whole trip, and it was pretty much textbook. The first day of our hunt was a little bit of a bust. We got led into an area that there was some elk sign, but we ran into a lot of hunters. We learned a lot this trip. There's a lot of road hunters, a lot of ATV hunters, things like that, and the key to really getting into the elk just seemed to be getting high and getting away from all these other people, which unfortunately meant putting a lot of miles on the boots and doing a lot of climbing into high elevation. But we did that day 2. We got up, we heard some bugling right away, and we got to a spot up on top of this ridge where we had a little bit of elk sign, and we just decided that something felt right there. We wanted to wait it out and kind of plan how the morning was going. And we actually took about an hour and a half snooze under a big tree, and we woke up from our little nap, and it was about noon, 12:30. Walked about 100 yards down the trail, and a bull bugled probably within 250 yards from us, right below the ridge. So it was kind of a mad dash to get everything set up. I ran down on the other side of the hill with the call, got the wind in our favor, and just started cow calling and throwing a couple challenge bugles at this bull, get him fired up. And he started to working the side hill along us, and we just slowly kind of worked along with him, preventing him to get downwind of us, and actually walked him pretty much right back to where we were taking our nap. And was lucky enough to Walt got about a 15-yard shot on him. He dropped the hammer on him with the elite, and the bull didn't make it more than 125 yards. It was a pretty textbook hunt for first-time novice elk hunters. So we were pretty much flying high and called the trip a success from there on out. It didn't really matter what happened, but the work was cut out for us after that. We had a solid 24 hours of hauling Walt's elk out of there. I think he was about 3 miles back in from any road. It took us quite a while. We got about 2/3 of the elk packed out that afternoon. Came back the next morning. We hung them that night, came back the next morning, and got the last load out. After that, I was up to bat. We tried a few new spots the remainder of the trip. We actually got on some bulls in a couple different areas, and then we came back about 3 days later, I think it was, right?
Yep.
Back to where Walter killed his bull, tried again. And we ended up getting on a really nice bull that had some cows with him, but he just didn't want to come into the calls, wasn't playing the game. So after a while, he decided the bull and the cows bedded up kind of in a bowl right down below us, and we decided to just keep Walter up high and occasionally bugle. He was pretty responsive all morning long, so we just kept hitting him with bugles every 10-15 minutes. He kept answering back, and Brennan and myself just kept the wind in our favor and slowly advanced down the hill, and our plan was working out great. Unfortunately, this timber that we're in here a lot of the timber here where we're hunting in Colorado is just so dense. You got to get just in the certain areas to where you can get some good shot opportunities with a bow and arrow. And we got about 50 yards from the elk. We actually seen him, got a pretty good look at him. He was a very solid bull, one I would definitely would have been happier than hell with. But we just unfortunately couldn't get a shot opening, and we tried to make one more move to close in, and I don't know if the bull spotted us or a cow picked us out, but they kind of boogered down the hill, and that was pretty much it for that hunt for the day. Today is our last day here. We didn't really have much going today. We had one bull answering this morning quite a ways down the hill. We put a hell of a hike on this morning to get up on a ridge. Had a lot of elk sign there. Just for some reason the elk weren't there today. That's pretty much our trip in a nutshell. We learned a lot this year. We learned we got to put some miles on the boots. Elevation is key. Just trying to get into these areas where the elk are and stay there. So we got some big plans next year to most likely, instead of hiking in every morning, probably do some more packing hunts and spend some time in some of the high country and not have to come out as much. You guys got anything to add? Any advice?
One of us will practice doing some calling.
One of us will practice.
One of us are good.
Yeah.
One of us will practice longer than 15-yard shots.
Yeah.
I'm just sore.
We're all sore.
Worn out.
I think after about day 3, I didn't feel my pack anymore from carrying it all day. Never had to take it off, but carrying Walt's elk out definitely kept me sore a good majority of the trip after. You can just feel it in your legs, your hips, your toes, everything. There's nothing you can do for a lot of the Midwest hunters that can really compare to doing this kind of hunt. I mean, you just pretty much got to be in as good a shape as you can be, because the first few days of being up here, it's going to beat the shit out of you. It beat the shit out of us the last
day. Beat the shit out of me every single day.
Yeah, but I mean, it slowly gets a little bit easier as carrying a pack and stuff like that as the trip goes along. It just wears out on a guy. Got to have plenty of water on you. That's one thing that we will definitely need to consider if we're spending more time in the backcountry next year, is just making sure we got enough pumps and finding areas that we can get plentiful water, and hopefully not having to drop a lot in elevation to get it. But other than that, that's pretty much all we got for elk talk. We're gonna be switching gears to whitetails here pretty much the remainder of the season. I don't think it. You guys got some mule deer hunts coming up.
Yeah, Dylan and I are pretty much going back, hopping in a vehicle with Dylan and going back to western Nebraska early next week to chase mule deer. We're gonna give it another 2 or 3 days out there, see if we can punch a tag, and then North Dakota, Minnesota for a while until it's time to start hunting in Iowa and Kansas.
I'll be pretty much hunting Wisconsin probably for the next month. Doing a lot of hunting with Aaron. He's got a piece of MFL that we want to focus on in October that we hunted last year, and a lot of our trail camera pictures kind of showed us that October is the best time of the year to be in there. So that's going to be one of our big focuses for the month of October. I probably won't really hunt my farms in Wisconsin too much until the end of October, going into November, and then right around that time frame I'll be ready to go down to Iowa and start hunting down there too. So that is going to be pretty much it for this week's episode of Elk 30. Hopefully a year from now we can be bringing you another Elk 30 episode. As always, thanks for tuning into the channel. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe, drop some comments down below. We'll see you guys in the next video.